Maybe if you don't want to talk, you could just listen.
Attention, citizens. Hold on to your hats, because science has whipped up a brand new kind of hero with a thirst for knowledge.
Alright gang, what's happening? I am Mal Foster and you are listening to the latest episode of your third favourite, above average, definitely somewhat fatigued and a little bit lethargic, but persistently resilient podcast, Dimed Out. Now, if you listened to the previous episode of Dimed Out, you will recall my journey towards my diagnosis of having MS. And if you didn't listen to the last episode of Dimed Out, spoilers, I have MS. Multiple sclerosis. Boom, got it first time. I am becoming increasingly a pro at pronouncing correctly my neurological disease. That might be the strangest humble brag that I've ever produced. I'm really good at pronouncing my neurological disease. Good for me. Pat on the back. If you didn't listen to the last episode, I'll catch you up real quick. Last year, I had an incident which I now know was a flare. And that flare consisted of zero coordination, lots of tiredness, and a truckload of wonky vision. All of this accumulated, plus other stuff, with a visit to the hospital. A visit which consisted of various tests, blood samples, vitals being taken, MRI scans, CAT scans, a spinal tap at one point, not to mention a honking hefty 5-round course of steroids, which eventually knocked my flare into submission. And in doing so, allowed me to leave the hospital after my almost 1 week stay with a diagnosis of MS, just in time for Christmas. Nice. At the end of that stint in hospital, and at the end of the previous episode, which detailed all of that, I was in a place where the future was truly uncertain. I didn't know what was going to happen next, in general and in terms of treatment. Now, at the beginning of April 2024, I have a much clearer outlook as to what is in store, at least within the immediate future. I say this because in 50 days, I'm headed to Mexico. Puebla, to be precise. Shortly after my MS diagnosis, a friend of my wife who has MS talked to her about a treatment that she had some time ago. A procedure that she had done to treat her MS, a procedure which has made a world of difference. That procedure, and I am going to have an earnest crack at the pronunciation of this, but you know, no promises. People that have been listening to this show for a long time will probably be used to me mangling many words, so this shouldn't come as a surprise. But that procedure is known as, hold on, I have to read it to even have a good run up at it. Hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. The key part of that mangled attempt is stem cell transplantation, otherwise known as HSCT, which is far easier to say and is what we will be referring to it as from this point on. If you don't know what HSCT is, then here's a fairly succinct but precise explanation. HSCT is a chemotherapy-based medical procedure that ablates, a fancy word for saying removes, your immune system and reboots it using your own stem cells which are harvested from your blood or bone marrow. It is the only medical procedure currently available that has halted the progression of the majority of patients undertaking it. It's not 100% guaranteed, but, you know, the odds are definitely in the favour of those undertaking it. As the aim of HSCT is to halt the progression of the autoimmune disease, any healing of symptomatic damage already done is a bonus, but is not guaranteed. Some patients get fabulous healing, others see small healing, and some do not get any healing at all. And that is why it is encouraged to have it sooner rather than later when more damage is done to the body. If, like me, you are a visual learner who does well with imagined metaphors, then here's something for you. This is how I've unpacked it to other people. So, at home, our cat, Kiki Bubbies, Princess Floof, Fuzzy Rumpkin, all of the other names that she has, don't have time to list them all. But our cat, Kiki, when she is being naughty and mischievous and she wants our attention, she's got a real tendency to bite and chew and gnaw on the TV cable plugged into the wall. Now, if left unattended, then she would fray the casing of the TV cable plugged into the wall, and her teethies would eventually wear it down and break it to pieces. In this instance, my aggro cat is my MS, and the TV cable plugged into the wall is my brain. Although HSCT isn't guaranteed to fix any of the scuffage or marks or gnawing or bite indentations on the cable for the TV, it is, if it works, going to make Kiki forget that she can bite on the cable, that she likes to bite on the cable, that is something that gets our attention. It basically makes Kiki forget all about the TV cable. But to stop the metaphorical cat biting the TV cable that lives inside my skull, I have to reboot my entire immune system. A true Control-Alt-Delete, if ever there was one. The procedure is full on, obviously, and quite frankly, it is fucking scary. But after hearing how much difference it has made to the life of my wife's friend, having dug into various testimonials across various platforms and done the due diligence in the research, hearing firsthand people's experiences and accounts before and after HSCT, I have to fully emphasize and stress the I in this, because it is my decision and my decision alone, I have decided to go ahead with HSCT. I'm going to pursue this treatment because why wouldn't I? If it has the potential to work, it can make a huge difference. Without it, I face possibly, and that's the thing, because there's so much uncertainty with MS, because every case is different, I face possibly a lifetime of drugs, a lifetime of procedures, of scans, and eventually possibly the loss of certain parts of me. My physical body, my mental well-being, my ability to be me, essentially. And I don't want that. I don't fucking want that for 1 minute. I want to be as much of me as I can. So I'm doing it. And it is fucking scary, but again, why wouldn't I? If it can give me a better quality of life, why wouldn't I? For fans of statistics, and I know you're out there, I see you. Here are a few in regards to HSCT, and in particular, the place that I'm going to be having the treatment, Clinica Ruiz in Puebla. Clinica Ruiz is the largest patient autoimmune disease HSCT treatment center in the world. The doctors there have performed more than 3,500 HSCT procedures during more than 20 years for hematological and autoimmune diseases, out of which over 1,600 have been for MS. Their transplant-related mortality is less than 0.26%, amongst the safest treatment records in the world. Another way of putting that is that there is a 99.34% chance that I'll leave Mexico alive, which is good. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Definitely would like that to be the case. Positive results have been achieved in over 80% of patients transplanted at Clinica Ruiz, which includes both relapsing and progressive patients. Progressive being the more severe end of the scale, which thankfully I'm not at. I am relapsing, remitting. I am in early stages, so, nothing, and I truly mean nothing, is ever certain. But with those odds, yeah, I definitely fancy a flutter. When I'm actually going through the procedure and through the various stages of the treatment, I'll get into the weeds with what's happening, into the nitty-gritty. I'll be able to talk more about what it is that is actually happening to me and what I'm feeling, but I can't do that until I'm actually there and it's happening. However, I can go through a overall look at the process, the treatment plan that they have, and go through the treatment timeline that I will be going through over the 4 weeks that I'm over there. Alright, so treatment timeline, 9 steps, 4 weeks. The first step is medical pre-testing. It's happening on day minus 13. Yeah, minus 13. It'll kind of make more sense when we get to day 0. It's kind of like a before and after sort of thing. Anyway, day 13, and that's going to include a chest x-ray. I believe they're going to go through my medical history, the previous MRI scans that I'm going to send off to them. And yeah, I guess just making sure that I am, healthy enough to go through the next stages. So, yeah, just kind of making sure I'm good to go, I guess. Again, we'll kind of get more into it as I'm going through the medical pre-testing, but that is the first stage, medical pre-testing. Step 2 is my first round of chemotherapy. That's happening on day minus 11 and minus 10. And that is to inhibit autoimmunity and to mobilize the stem cells that they're going to be harvesting. So basically just getting them all juiced up and ready to be harvested, I guess. Step 3 is a continuation of that. That is stem cell mobilization. That's day minus 9 to day minus 4. So again, just kind of getting them to bloom and just populate the healthy stem cells, just getting them energized and ready to be taken from my body. To do that, injections will be given to me every 12 hours during a 7-day period. Step 4 is the actual stem cell harvest, and that's happening on day minus 3. Stem cells are collected, I believe, from my bone marrow and then stored at a controlled temperature in a fridge, kind of like a blood bank fridge. So once they're all like fizzing about, energized, mobilized, ready to go, they're going to extract them from my body and then just whack them in a fridge for later. Stage 5 is my second round of chemotherapy. That's happening on day minus 2 and minus 1. And it's, just 2 additional days of high dose chemo. And this round, I believe, and again, I'll know more as it's happening, but from what I've gathered from my layperson's non-medically inclined brain, these 2 days are to basically just flush everything out, to blast my system and get shot of the unhealthy, damaged, corrupt cells. I may be way off the mark with that, but that's my impression at least. When it's happening, when we're digging through the weeds, I'll probably have a much clearer and better understanding of what is actually happening with the second round of chemo. But to my understanding, that's the point of round 2 with the chemo. So that is the before stage. Stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're on to stage 6. Day 0, my stem cell transplant. This is where the healthy stem cells are taken from the fridge and put back into me so they can multiply and create more healthy cells. Day 0 basically meaning this is like what has been referred to as your second birthday by a lot of people that have gone through this. This is the day that they basically have a clean slate. This is the new beginning, day 0. Yeah, second birthday. Fresh, brand new, baby-esque immune system minus the corrupt cells that were previously there. The damage that has been done by the MS is more than likely still going to remain, and I will live with that. But I won't have the cells trying to attack me anymore, which is great. Stage 7, neutropenic period begins, and this is day +1. Neutropenic period, this is when I have too few neutrophils, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which is basically a type of white blood cell. Neutrophils are important for fighting certain infections, especially those caused by bacteria. So obviously this is like when I am very, very vulnerable, and because of that, my diet and exposure will be highly controlled during the neutropenic period. Stage 8 hematology continues until recovery. That's day +2 moving onwards. And I believe I'll be having checks, blood tests, possibly. Again, I'll know more at the time when I'm in it, when I'm in the thick of it. But I think I read that I'll be having blood tests every 48 hours. And stage 9, the final stage, rituximab, I think I'm pronouncing that right as well, rituximab infusion, that's going to be happening approximately around day +11, so that is my last week of the 4 weeks. Basically, rituximab is medication and it's administered through an IV. And, after that, if all is well, I'll be discharged and ready to go home. But to go through all 9 stages, to go through this whole procedure that will radically change my life for the better, I have got to get there first. And to get there, I got to overcome some travel issues. Alright, so the travel issue. I want to breeze through this as quickly as possible because I don't want you to get bogged down in the boring details of it. And 2, I have lived this shitty nightmare long enough. So let's go back to August 2021. My initial 2-year green card is about to expire, so I need to apply for a new one, and the new one will last me 10 whole years. To apply for this, I have to gather as much information as humanly possible about everything and anything that proves that me and my wife are still married, it's a legit marriage, we live together, we have a shared existence. That's what they're looking for. Or if you are no longer with the person you came to marry, that you can financially support yourself. Thankfully, I am happily in the former of those 2 situations, so I gather as much information, as I said, as humanly possible, because believe me, they want to know the back end of everything. Gather it all, put it in a packet, send it off in the post, Bob's your uncle. Fast forward a month later, I think it's September 19th, and I get confirmation from them saying, we received your application, we're going through it. It's getting processed as we speak, as it were. So that's happening. And by this point, my green card, the 2-year one, has expired, but they have sent me this piece of paper that basically says, this fella's green card has expired, but with this piece of paper that you're looking at now, airport security, he can travel to and fro. But it needs to be the 2 of them. Physical expired card, piece of paper. They go hand in hand. So let's fast forward again to December 2021. It is a year on from COVID Christmas, that awful nightmare. Zoom calls over Christmas, being away from people, not knowing what the hell is happening in the world. It's a year later, and at the very least I feel safe enough to travel, so I go and have myself a very British Christmas. December 2021, get to spend time with my mum, get to see loved ones, get to make up for lost time and lost opportunities, and have a wonderful time. Until 2 days, give or take, before I'm set to fly back to the US. I'm in the town centre, I'm doing a few jobs, I'm popping into a couple of places for nostalgia or for practical reasons. I head into a used bookstore that I really like to get a couple of books, give them a bit of custom, and then I head over to a Tesco supermarket to get some lunch. And somewhere in between used bookstore and Tesco, I have lost my wallet. Now this would be bad enough as it is. Even if in the wallet there's just my bank card, a library card, a bunch of tat that I never use, that would be bad enough. But in this instance, inside my wallet, I've got my bank card, my library card, a bunch of tat that I never use, and my expired 2-year green card. 2 days or so before I'm meant to fly back. And if you recall from what I just said a few moments ago, to fly back and forth willy-nilly, I have to have the expired card and the paper counterpart. Got the paper counterpart, no longer have the card. So then I try, on the day I'm supposed to fly out, I try and take as much information as I can. Most of it is similar to, if not the exact same stuff I've sent off in my initial application for the new green card, and anything and everything I can think of I take to the airport, and I'm practically begging the guy at the desk to let me on the plane that I already have a ticket for. Except that doesn't work, because he will not let me on. He says something about how, what was it? That the airline is at the risk of being cut off from doing this particular flight. Something to do with tattering relations between the airline and the airport I was flying to. Some whatever. There's nothing he can do, even though I'm basically on the verge of tears, begging him. He won't do anything. Not that he can do anything. So he says the only thing you can do is go to the embassy in London and get an emergency stamp on your passport. So I do that. I take an impromptu trip to London, go through that whole bureaucratic rigmarole, get a stamp on my passport, eventually make it back to the US. But now I've got a situation because I've got my paper counterpart with no card, and I'm in the midst of waiting for them to process my new card, my 10-year card. So I have to look up how long that's going to take, and then I also have to look up how long it will take to replace a lost card. And at the time, it was going to take significantly less time to just wait it out for the new 10-year card than it would to get a replacement for the 2-year card. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just have to do without a physical card for the time being. And I was under the impression that it would take about a year for the 10-year card to come through, give or take. And at this point, I got the receipt in September, so we're already 3 months in. I figure I can wait 9 months. It is now February the 12th, 2024. Bear in mind, got the confirmation that they were processing my application about mid-September 2021. Mid-September 2021 to February the 12th, 2024. And finally, I think I have my 10-year card. I say think because I haven't opened it yet. I'm about to in a minute, but truly this whole process has been an ordeal because in that time period I have checked on the status of my case, of my application, and I've heard nothing since the initial receipt back in September 2021 saying that they're working on it. That was the last thing I heard. And any time I've gone to check on the case, it's exactly the same thing. It's being processed. There was no way to query it. I couldn't find a way to ask what the hell is happening. I couldn't find any avenue of communication. It's been like sitting in the dark, hoping that someone, somewhere, at some point will turn a light on. Not even the light, just a light, so you can see something, so you have some semblance of bearing. It's radio silence. It's been like beyond fucking frustrating, to put it mildly. Hearing nothing, having no avenue of contact, no one to get in touch with, no caseworker, nobody other than automated voice messages which basically tell you the exact same thing that the website tells you when you punch in your receipt number. And that's been going on all this time. And to that, periodically when I will check to see if anything has changed, if there has been any difference made to my status regarding my case, they will move the estimated time. So as I say, I think it started off as 12 months, give or take, maybe 14, and then it moves to 18 months is the expected time that your case will be processed. Your application will go through 18 months. And then again, when you check later down the line, the goalposts have moved again to say 21 months, and then 24. And then the last time I checked, the night that I found I had COVID, and I was sat backstage in the midst of a theatre production on opening night, which was already enough to deal with. On that night, I check out of curiosity because I've got time to kill, and the goalposts have moved again to 28 months. And to be fair, that's pretty much how long it has actually taken from being told that my case is being processed to receiving this, if this even is what I think it is. But yeah, here we go. At long last, and this makes for great audio, but at this point in time I don't give a shit. So here we go. This is it. This is what hopefully I've been waiting 2.5 years for. Congratulations! With an exclamation mark. USCIS has approved your request to remove the conditions on your permanent resident status. You are deemed to be a lawful permanent resident of the United States as of the date of your original admission or adjustment of status. You should receive a new permanent resident card, also known as a green card, within 60 days. So, your card will include a mailer, a form, numbers and letters with important information about your status and responsibilities, as well as permanent resident services available to you. You should not travel outside the United States until you receive your green card. Fat chance of that happening, as you may have difficulty re-entering the United States. No shit. Well, it's not the actual card itself, but it is pretty much the end of the road. The end of a long and frustrating road. I truly will not be happy or relieved until I actually have the physical card in my hands, because I'm just that type of person. But this for now is more than good enough. This for now is that light that I was talking about. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, to use a good old cliche. And it feels really good, but as I say, until I actually have the card in my hand, that's when I will just be awash with relief. 60 days. So within 60 days. I wonder how many. So let's kind of make a note of this. It is February the 12th today. When was this dated? This was dated on the 2nd of February. So 60 days from the 2nd of February. We'll see how long it takes to get here. But the main thing is, all grumping and griping aside, it is on its way. And this shitty ordeal is almost over. And with it being almost over, it's allowing the next ordeal to happen. Knowing that I can freely travel with this thing, it also allows me to move on to the next stage within the MS journey, and that is heading over to Clinica Ruiz and going through the treatment, which is a weird thing, and I'm kind of processing that now at the minute. I'm kind of dealing with that, because it's amazing that now I don't have that overhanging question mark of when will I be able to do this. This has opened the door to do it. Getting the green card has opened the door to travel, to go to Mexico to get the treatment. But it has also opened the door to go to Mexico to get the treatment. So it's good, because it's finally allowing me to do that. But at the same time, the reality of the treatment, the reality of getting it done is ever closer. So, bit of a double-edged sword that I'm processing, but give it time and I'll be alright, I hope. Okay, as the cat is on the table pissing about with a bowl of fake fruit, I'm about to dive into a monumental moment. And that's saying that with all legitimacy, without any sense of hyperbole. Monumental in the sense that this has been 2.5 years in the making. I applied for my new 10-year green card. I applied to have the conditions removed on my legal resident status 2.5 years ago. Start of September 2021. It's now February 17th, 2024. And it's finally here. After looking online several times across that span of 2.5 years and seeing the goalposts move from it's going to take 12 months, 18, and then 21, and then 24, and then 28 months, and all the disappointment and frustration and the lack of ability to find someone to actually ask what the hell is happening, it is here. Not to mention all of that, there's also been this overhanging question mark of when can I do certain things? When can I go back to the UK? When can I go to Mexico? When can I just have the freedom to travel willy-nilly? When do I no longer have to wait for this, and I don't anymore. So I wanted to record this because it is genuinely monumental. It's a big deal. Big deal. My wife is here on the other side of this camera, by the way. She doesn't want to be included, but she's here. And yeah, you and me both, buddy. Okay. And there it is. Holy shit. Well, it's there. I'm obviously not wanting to give away all my information. I'm not that keen to have my identity stolen the moment my card comes in, but yeah, card expires 2nd of the 2nd, 2034. Fuck. And isn't that weird to think about? 2034. Yikes. Resident since the 17th of October 2019. There's still a nice picture of me there as well, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, you want to have a look?
Yep.
There you go. Obviously not you listening.
Oh wow, this is official.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow, there are so many security features on this card.
I know. And I love the fact that even though it says on the card I've been here since October 2019, I still get a welcome to the United States, a guide for new immigrants. Well, I'm not a new immigrant, kind of an old immigrant at this point in every sense of the word, but
I can't believe how long we have waited for that.
And isn't it weird? Like, it's really nice to just finally have it in my hand. It's surreal. And it feels definite now, but I don't think it's going to feel fully immersed that it's actually happened for a couple of days. Don't eat the fruit, it's not real. So the cat is just... There you go. Even if it was real, you can't have any, you numpty. It is surreal. It doesn't quite feel real. I think it's going to take a couple of days. They were quick getting it, not overall.
When you had the ability to inquire, it immediately got done.
It's funny that, yeah. So I inquired, I could first inquire on the 31st of January. That was the first time in that 2.5 year span that I could be like, hey, what's happening with my case?
So you were allowed to ask about it?
Yeah, that you were allowed to ask a question of like, it's taking a little while, guys. What's the hold up? Oh, well, you can't ask that, not until the 31st of January, 2024. No. And then when that date rolled around, it got processed. And on the piece of paper that they sent me before they sent the card, the date on it of acceptance saying that like it's been accepted, that it's been processed, was the 2nd. So it's 3 days after. So in my head...
The first working day after you...
Yeah. It's like... someone's just checked their emails on Monday and been like, oh shit, let's just put it through. And then I got the paper thing saying it's on its way. It should be here within 60 days. And so because it's been such a long drawn out process, I was like, they're going to take the full 60 days. But they didn't. It's the 17th, so that's just over 2 weeks. So they've kind of spun that around pretty quick, considering. It's the only thing that's been pretty quick.
That's amazing.
It is amazing because it's an end to a not very nice saga. Yeah. It's an end to uncertainty. Like a huge chunk of uncertainty has been put to rest with this now. So I just need to keep this somewhere safe.
So safe.
Yeah, I'm not putting this in my wallet, that's for certain. So, new green card means green light for Mexico. The rest of what you're going to hear over this episode, and possibly another 1, 2, again, I don't know. I really don't know what is going to happen from this point on. But whatever you're going to hear, it's going to be ramshackled and hodgepodged and just stuck together like a Frankenstein's monster of a podcast episode. Plural, probably. Anywho, without further ado, make sure that you're comfortable, get yourself strapped in, make sure you've got plenty of snacks, because we're about to hit the road to Mexico. Vamos. So after my hospital stint in November, and then the malaise of Christmas, the big comfy cozy higgy malaise of Christmas, and shifting away from the mindset of Christmas, which was a struggle, I am finally, gradually, albeit slowly, getting back into exercising, and in particular getting back into running using the aerobic heart rate method of keeping my heart rates below 155. And so far so good. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling energized. It's nice to be active and mobile again, and it feels like there is small but steady progressions already. The only problem at the minute is because we're still early on in February, it is dark of an evening, early on in the evening. By the time I get myself back home from work, I get changed, I get warmed up, and I'm out the door and going, it's dark. And even though I know these roads fairly well, they're still weathered, they're still cracked, they're full of crevices and potholes, and with it being dark, I can only see so far ahead of me. Even with street lights, even with house lights, I can only see so far ahead of me. So at the moment, at this early stage, I am essentially running into the dark. And as I'm doing so, and I'm trying to be mindful for safety reasons and also to enjoy the experience more, I start thinking that this is pretty apt. It's kind of metaphorical, and dare I say, even somewhat profound. At this early stage, I am running into the dark, literally, as I'm running, as I'm exercising, as I'm kind of building that back up, and as I am facing whatever it is that's coming down the pike in terms of MS, going to Mexico, the treatment, the recovery, all of that stuff. Right now, I have an idea of where I'm going, of what's happening, but I'm also kind of running into the dark. And you know, as we progress, as we move forward, as the nights get lighter, I'll have better visibility. I'll be able to see where I'm going. And as I progress further and get the ball rolling with Mexico, the treatment, the recovery, all of that, I'll have a better idea of what's coming. But I wanted to take a moment to just meditate on that and the quite apt metaphorical nature of that. Yeah. And on that note, that'll do it for this week's episode. As I previously mentioned, I haven't a Scooby-Doo what is coming after this, so your guess is as good as mine. Hopefully it's something half decent and you get something from it though. But for the time being, that is it for this week. I'm going to be diving more into my journey towards Mexico, and then, who knows? In the meantime, though, as always, thank you for listening. Look after yourselves and each other. And until next time, enjoy my dabblings with AI music programs. Yeah, I gave an AI program the prompt to make me an Italo disco tune based on heading to Mexico for a stem cell transplant. And it made this. And it's a bop. Not gonna lie. It's got a real Italians do it better vibe. And I'm here for it.